Twice in one day. Come on, baby.
This is true. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming here on today. I want to acknowledge, I have to start with members of the Parker administration who are present, Rob DeBoe, Sabrina Maynard, MD O'Teal, Planning and Development, Jesse Lawrence and John Monlack, our Commerce Department, Ellen Ive, Karen Fegley, Basil Miranda, and a gentleman who you don't see that often. Where is he? Lewis? Where's Lewis? Hey, Lewis, come on down here, Lewis.
You don't see him now.
Hey, Lewis, can you come on down here? Yeah, come on down here on the other side of the subject matter experts. And you'll know why. Before we get started, I want everybody to give Lewis Rossman from our city's law department a super huge round of applause. We are also honored to have with us today Chairman of our Appropriations Committees from the Pennsylvania General Assembly in both the House and the Senate, along with Senator Picozzi, who is a state senator, but he's in the Republican caucus. But he represents the city of Philadelphia, and all three of them working together made possible what we are going to discuss on today. As mayor of the city of Philadelphia, I want to proclaim that we are here to discuss an urgent need facing our city, and that is that we need more housing, more affordable housing, and we need it now. And we do not need any more vacant office buildings here in the city of Philadelphia. Do you all agree? But this is the good part, Chairman Harris, Hughes, and Senator Picozzi. We're here on today to proclaim that help is not just on the way. Thanks to our legislative leaders, help is actually already here. I want to say to them that our journey began, and this is important to affirm, when our finance director and budget director briefed me in early spring of this year about the fact that Philadelphia had $1 billion in a reduction in assessed values for commercial buildings here in the city of Philadelphia. To residents, what does this mean? This $1 billion reduction in assessed values for commercial buildings, office buildings, meant that the city's books, $9.7 million in losses on the city side, and 5.4 to the school district, and another 4.3 million to the city's general fund. Chairman Harris and Hughes and Senator Picozzi, it was not a good way to start off our meeting to talk about balancing the city's budget along with our 5-year plan. We then had a meeting with our planning and development team to figure out what could we do to address this issue here in the city. We also talked to many subject matter experts from the private sector about this. I talked with our city council president, Council President Kenyatta Johnson, who shared the same concern. And we knew we needed to find a way forward. Not only were we working on the introduction of our budget and the 5-year plan that we would present to PICA for consideration, but we also were about to introduce H.O.M.E. H.O.M.E is our comprehensive plan to build, preserve, and restore 30,000 units of housing in the city of Philadelphia, the building of 13,500, and the preservation of 16,500 units. And how would we do this? In that discussion, we began to talk about Philadelphia's history. And we were reminded that it was the late 1990s and the early 2000s when the city's economy, particularly our central core here in Center City, it was in the dumps. No one was building, and the economy was in a significant slowdown. There was then a council member by the name of Councilmember Frank DeChico. He had this idea about a 10-year property tax abatement for new construction and rehabs that would be used to spur and catalyze development and create more housing opportunities in our city. And by now, everyone knows it worked. The 10-year tax abatement was a tool, and some would tell you, Chairman, that it was the tool that was responsible for helping to incentivize the market and spur the creation and the building of housing units and homes across our city. So by the time we finished all of our fact gathering, the question was, if this was a tool that was good enough to use then, why can't it be good enough for us to use again to ensure that we don't have any vacant office buildings and to also incentivize the building of affordable housing, not just in Center City, but in neighborhoods across the city? Why? And I want to be very clear with you, Philadelphia. I won't name any names about any cities or states. The only thing I will tell you is that there are many communities and cities and states, across our area where people will tell you that city is no longer the same. If you go visit this place, and one I want to say because I used to go often when I was a student at Lincoln University, they said, well, if you go to that neighborhood, if you go to that city, it's not the place that it used to be. And what they're saying is that is code for the demographic makeup of that community. It no longer exists the way it used to. When we say affordable housing in the city of Philadelphia, we are talking about affordable housing to address the crisis in homelessness that we have in our city. We are talking about affordable housing as it relates to families. We are talking about seniors. We are talking about veterans. But we are also talking about affordable housing for our workforce. Don't forget what we just went through this past summer when we heard municipal employees very validly affirm, you have a residency requirement in the city of Philadelphia. It says we have to live here, but we can't afford to own a home in the city of Philadelphia. We can barely afford to rent in the city of Philadelphia. This tool that we are going to describe for you here on today is something that will make sure that affordable housing, which I affirm economically is a public good. Affordable housing is a public good, and that means it's going to be underproduced. What does that mean? We don't have enough of the supply to meet the demand. And the natural private sector market, Chairman, it's not building enough affordable housing, so we will use this tool to incentivize them to build. Now, what this is not, and I want to say this before I hear it, and I can't stop anybody from saying what I'm about to say. I just want you to know that it's possible that you're going to hear it, but if you hear it, it's not true. Let me tell you what this tool is not going to be. This is not a blanket benefit for billionaires. Somebody, somewhere, somehow is going to say, here they go again, thinking about how to line the pockets of billionaires. I can't stop you from a misinformation campaign or saying what you personally feel, but what I can tell you is that that is not the truth with this tool. The tool I'm going to describe is a surgical tool that we will execute with missile-like precision to extract what we desire out of it. No vacant office buildings and or government-owned buildings and affordable housing across the board. Why is it important for me to affirm that? Because we now have the ability in the city of Philadelphia, because of the enabling authority granted to us through our legislative leaders, it enables us to have a 20-year property tax abatement for commercial and industrial properties and for vacant city and school district properties to be turned into residential housing. That doesn't sound like a blank check for billionaires. That sounds like us thinking about residents in the city of Philadelphia. It gives us the ability to address the vacant commercial and industrial and former government and school-owned buildings by incentivizing their reuse as productive residential buildings and lead to an increase in tax revenues in the long run for both the school district and for city services. And so I want to just walk through quickly the 4 things that this legislation does for us, this enabling authority. 1, it will allow abatements to extend beyond the current 10-year state law limit to last as long as 20 years, specifically for conversions. So that means when converting a commercial, industrial, government, or school property to residential units. And as we all know, whether we like it or not, there are many commercial, industrial, and government and school properties sitting vacant across our city. And Chairman and Senator Pecosi, we don't have a good answer when people ask us why. How can you say that there's a housing crisis in the city of Philadelphia and everywhere we look we see all of this vacant land? Well, the 20-year abatement is exactly the kind of innovative incentive that we need to redevelop these vacant buildings into residential housing. Second thing, in addition to the conversion of industrial and commercial properties into residential, the abatement statute will allow ordinances to provide that former government buildings, including public school facilities, could qualify for the abatement for conversion to residential use for up to 20 years. 3, it ensures that we in the city of Philadelphia, and to SEIU and Unite Here and to the building trades, it's important that we affirm this on the day so that you know while we were doing our homework, we didn't do so with you as an afterthought. We did so with you at the center of what we were doing. We can provide certain protections for workers in connection with this type of particular abatement, and that will be included in the legislation that we'll talk about. We are in the process of drafting to present to our City Council President, Kenyatta Johnson, and our council for consideration, and we will be doing that in the new year. The 4th thing that it does, and this was extremely important, the language makes clear that for this type of abatement, if the commercial or government building has to be demolished. To the building trades, I want you to know, I thought that we could just go gut and replace everything that was existing and standing. And we could just keep everything that was there, just, go in and knock down everything. But Chairman, our conversations about how we could be creative and co-locating those buildings, they told me, well, if you really want to do that, some of this stuff is going to have to come down. So some of it will have to be demolished. So this language makes clear that if one of those buildings has to be demolished to build the residential, that does constitute a type of conversion. That is extremely important to us. I want to say now to Chairman Hughes, Chairman Harris, and to Senator Pecosi, all of you worked in a bipartisan manner in order to get this done. Your willingness to work with the City of Philadelphia and the Parker administration is the only reason why we are here today. So I have a problem when people rewrite history. So in the future, because this tool is going to work, this tool is going to help us enhance the building of affordable housing in our city and to ensure that we don't have vacant office buildings. When the history books are written, they will have to say, Chairman Harris, Chairman Hughes, and our Senator Pecosi took the lead in the Pennsylvania General Assembly in order to incentivize this building, because we as a city cannot do it without you in Philadelphia. That's important for me to affirm to you. So when you hear me say, I will not allow my pride, ego, emotions, or politics of any kind to interfere in the city of Philadelphia's ability to deliver what we need to deliver for you, the bipartisan cooperation and working together that is displayed here on today, it is the only reason why we have been successful. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Somebody started whispering to me a few seconds ago, well, was Philadelphia, I know we're the only city of the first class in the Commonwealth. Were we the only ones to get a 20-year abatement? I said, absolutely not. And this is important to affirm for the record, Philadelphia, so that you know that anybody who is saying this is a blank check for billionaires are wrong. Because Pittsburgh and Allegheny County, they secured a blanket 20-year abatement in this year's fiscal code. So while our 20-year abatement that we secured is more surgical and applies only to conversions for the purpose of building residential units, theirs is a blanket 20-year across the board. So nobody can say that when we all work together, we didn't do so with a specific mission, a goal, and objective in mind. With that being said, I want to now recognize our Senate Chairman, Vincent Hughes. We're going to hear from our Majority Chairman on the House side, Harris, and then our Senator Pecosi in that order. Give them a round of applause, please.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, it's always a pleasure to stand with you. It's usually delivering good news, and we appreciate that, and we appreciate your leadership. To my colleagues, Chairman Harris, Senator Pecosi, great, again, working together on another important project. Tools, let's talk about tools.
Come on.
This past July, the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, PHFA, announced 14 projects awarded financing for 14 projects for the city of Philadelphia through their low-income housing tax credit program. That's 560 units. And Madam Mayor, if we break ground and get them done in an appropriate time frame, they'll be on your account. I know you got that little...
The ticker.
You got that little ticker going on. That's a tool. That's a tool. Chairman Harris and I, in that little room, in the budget negotiation table, we were able to once again increase fair funding, also in PHFA, to close to $100 million.
Nice.
Now, be mindful that not too long ago, that number was $20 million. All right? That's a tool so that neighborhoods and community organizations and housing-related organizations do the good work of building new housing, fixing old housing, housing counseling, to keep folks in their home or to put the pieces together so they can purchase a new home as homeowners. That's a tool. And somewhere along the line in those various different programs, Madam Mayor, you'll be able to knock off a few more on the ticker, okay? This is another tool.
That's right.
And in a space where folks are talking about cutting housing support, we recognize the need to make additional investments and provide this city more tools.
That's right.
Now, there are a lot of people who don't want to see this to be successful. And it shouldn't be, but in many respects, this is like, Sam, this is like a gunfight. You know what I mean? Because we're trying to do something that, and I look around this wall and see a lot of mayors up here, and somehow have made some important contributions in the housing space, but none have taken on this issue with the magnitude and the vision that this mayor is taking it on. Now, somebody once said, you can't bring a butter knife to a gunfight. And I mean that. You can't bring a butter knife to a gunfight because you will lose, all right? We have got to incorporate every tool available to us to deal with this problem and to achieve the stated goal of our mayor, 30,000. It ain't going to just happen with onesies and twosies.
That's right.
All right? It requires significant contributions, and it's even more significant because of the environment that we're in. Times have changed, people. Times have changed. I was in a meeting earlier today with a number of healthcare leaders talking about how we manage and invest and grow one of the key pillars of this region, eds and meds.
Wow.
It was in an office building with a very successful operation going on. But even in that successful operation, there was nobody in the office except the two receptionists and those of us who were in the meeting. Times have changed.
That's right.
It's Friday. Remote working. Work from home. You know, work from home.
Don't be trying to get me in trouble.
Okay, I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'm not trying to get you in trouble. But that Chairman Harris, is in an active office with several thousand employees, but with a different operating model. Now we have all of these buildings around here who are not even in that situation.
That's right. That's right.
They're old. They're empty. And we got to do something with that and turn it into an asset for this city. For this city, for this region, for the nation. So that's what we're doing. We're providing the tool that you asked us to provide in a bipartisan fashion, in a bicameral fashion. Not a lot of hubbub.
That's right.
We just got it.
Did you post it on social media?
No posting on social media.
You know.
Jordan I was posting about the Crown Act. Okay, we won. Right, all right. That's another press conference with Joanna and Latasha and all that. All right, but we're proud to have a city that has made a visionary commitment around this issue of housing. The hardest issue that Chairman Harris has to deal with, that Senator Pecosi has to deal with, that I have to deal with, even our colleagues in the far hinterlands of Pennsylvania, is the issue of housing.
Wow.
It is the hardest issue because the resources are not meeting the need.
Rural too?
Especially in rural Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And that's a whole nother conversation about those folks voting against their own interests, but that's a whole nother thing, all right? We're here. We have delivered on this in partnership. We're going to take Thanksgiving off, all right? A little bit, all right? And then we're going to go back working on the next budget, all right? Because there's more work to be done. And I'm going to finalize on this. I look at these pictures, and I see many of our friends, mayors, who are standing in front of or connected to revitalized downtowns. And that's a good thing. I have a feeling that when it's time for my mayor's portrait to go on the wall, it'll be in front of or connected to a neighborhood with its new housing and new home ownership, because that's been her vision, and that's what I hope that portrait will show. We're here as a partner and as a friend, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Without any further ado, Chairman Jordan Harris.
Thank you, sir. So let me first thank the mayor for having us here to talk about, for those, when folks talk about the budgets, everybody gets all excited about the big numbers, $100 million here, $1 billion here. A lot of time in our budgets, there's small sections, few words, sometimes a few lines that can actually mean a whole lot to the budget document and its effect on people.
Yes.
The mayor and I several times have talked about housing, school buildings, co-facilitation, all of those kind of things around what we could possibly do in the city. I remember growing up in Philly, and even recently, and if you're from Philly, you'll agree with this. You drive around and you look at an old building that's been there and it's been abandoned forever, right? And you just say to yourself, well, why is that building still abandoned? Why hasn't anybody done something with that building? Or, I go on social media, not that I read the comments, but but no, seriously, sometimes people will say, oh, we got all these issues with homelessness and affordable housing, but on my block, there's these 3 abandoned, buildings, and this school over here, and this office building over here. And so when the administration reached out to us during the budget process, it made perfect sense that we work to get this into the fiscal code to give the city of Philadelphia more tools to create more affordable housing in our city. Listen, oftentimes we hear about what we can't do as a city because Harrisburg is stopping us from doing it. And that is always, we would do this, but Harrisburg this. We would do this, but the state does this and this. Well, this is a time where the city reached out and said what they needed, and we at the state level were able to deliver for the city of Philadelphia.
Thank you, Chairman.
And so, but I want to reiterate what the mayor is saying. This is really, and folks need to get this correct. This is about affordable housing.
That's right.
This is about using this tool that the mayor and city council will decide how they want to go about it. We ain't gonna get in the middle of that. Y'all do that. I know my role. We give you the authority. Y'all decide how y'all want to use it. But seriously, it's about taking these properties that are off the rolls and or abandoned and giving them new life.
That's right.
Okay? Giving them new life.
New life.
We have to be sensitive to the fact that COVID-19 changed a lot. Okay, I have a friend who has a facility and he rents office space, and he talked about downsizing his office space because his folks aren't in the office. They're working 2 days from home. They're doing this, all of these different things that people and businesses are doing. Well, what happens to that facility then?
That's right.
Right? And so I think it is just wise, what the mayor is saying, that we're going to have all of these commercial buildings that need new life. We have some school buildings that need new life, old government buildings, old industrial areas that need new life. We want to give them the tools in a bipartisan way. We were able to work together. People say we don't, work
That's
across
right.
the aisle. We do. But to give the city the tools necessary. Here's why it's important. Here's why it's important. When I was 2 years old, my mother moved across the street. We lived with my grandmother, so we moved across the street. And my mother bought a house. I was 2 years old. She bought a house in 1986. Don't y'all start doing math on how old I am. But she bought that house. I was going to give you an old joke, Vince. I'm going to let you have that one up. But no. My mother bought that house. And home ownership became a reality for my family. Okay? The stability that I had as a child because my mother brought that house. Okay? I'm a former school teacher. Sherelle, you taught as well. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, you taught as well. You know, anybody who has worked in education can tell you that there are so many of our young people who are suffering in the classroom because of the transient nature of their lives. They start school in one school, and throughout the year, they may go to 2 or 3 other schools because of the instability. You know what I'm talking about, because of the instability of their housing. And so what we're doing here with affordable housing is providing families with stability. And this is how you generate generational wealth and how you transfer wealth. One of the quickest ways to close the wealth gap is home ownership. Okay? So this is going to be a tool used to build affordable housing in this city, to turn lifeless properties into new life. You know, my pastor used to talk about, in the Bible, they talked about, shall these bones live again? Shall these, when they went to the valley of the dry bones, shall these bones live again? I say the same thing for those vacant buildings in the city of Philadelphia. Shall these bones live again? They shall. And they shall house many of our brothers, our sisters, our siblings, our workers who do so much for this city. They will have a home. As my friends at Project Home say, none of us are home until all of us are home. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for your leadership on this. I do want to before I do that, I'm going to get in trouble. I do want to thank our leadership team in Harrisburg. I got to thank my speaker, Speaker McClinton, our leader, Matt Bradford. But also, I want to be honest, I want to thank our staff because we don't do any of this without our staff. So my executive director, Courtney Richardson, is here. Thank you to her and to all of our leadership team staff who actually write the nuts and the bolts to get these things done. With that, let me turn it over to my colleague over in the State Senate, Senator Joe Picosi.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. A year ago, when I was pursuing this position, I talked a lot about blight, broken windows, abandoned cars, dilapidated properties. Today, we've delivered something that's going to help turn blight into beauty.
Yes.
What we've accomplished, at least in terms of enabling legislation, in a bipartisan, bicameral manner, working hand in glove with the city, with other levels of government, has the potential to transform our city. To revitalize our downtown, to take blighted, vacant properties and turn them into something beautiful where people can live. I not only represent Northeast Philadelphia, I also represent a generation of Philadelphians, young Philadelphians, who for us, the dream of home ownership is starting to seem far off, distant, if not impossible. Because of what we've done here together today, that dream is so much closer. Like Chairman Hughes said, housing is one of the most difficult issues that we deal with as a chamber and as elected officials. In my role as chairman of the Housing and Urban Affairs Committee in the Senate, I've learned a hands-on education of just how difficult this is, how challenging it is to finance major development projects, to build new homes. to transform lives. This legislation, this tool that we all were able to get through Harrisburg together is going to be a massive, massive, massive opportunity to change the calculus fundamentally, to take projects that could have been impossible and bring them into the realm of possibility, to revitalize our downtown, to revitalize our forgotten neighborhoods, to revitalize our waterfront, and to revitalize our entire city. Do you know what else this does? And I see we have some friends from the trades here today. This enabling legislation is jobs. Jobs for builders, jobs for electricians, jobs for construction workers, jobs for plumbers. This is a moment that could transform the whole future of our city. And most importantly, I'm really proud to say we were able to do it together. This is a moment where, I'm first Republican to represent the city in the Senate in a long time, in a generation. And it's been my goal from day one to work across the aisle, to work across every layer of government, to deliver things for our home, to be our voice in that room. I'm just getting started. I'm so proud to be able to help and deliver something this early in my term, but I hope to be standing here many more times and continue to work closely with our mayor, with Chairman Harris, with Chairman Hughes, to deliver real results for the city of Philadelphia and for the great Northeast. So thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you to our mayor, and thank you to all the leaders who are involved in bringing this home.
Listen, if somebody is watching this and they never understood what intergovernmental cooperation and planning and collaboration, what it means for the city of Philadelphia, you just saw it in a very tangible way. Not a speech, not a line. And I know I joshed you, Chairman and Senator, and Chairman and Senator Picozzi, but I did josh them when I said, but wait a minute, while you were doing it, I didn't see it on social media. You mean you were working and it wasn't on social media? Thank you so very much. We now want to hear from our finance director, because it is very important that we give you an overview about the fiscal impact that our current state of affairs has had on the city of Philadelphia. And after all, he, along with our budget director, Sabrina Mader, were the ones who brought me the bad news earlier this year. So Rob DeBoe summarized the news.
So I'm going to talk about the financial impact, and hopefully this will mean fewer times bringing bad news like the $1 billion decrease in values. So what does this mean for us? In the longer term, it means what we've been talking about, more housing, which means revenues for both the city and the school district. See that revenue in terms of property tax. 56% of that goes to the school district, with the rest coming to the city. There'll be use and occupancy tax for the school district, so there'll be a couple of benefits for the district. And as Senator Picozzi said, this will also mean jobs. And what jobs means for us financially is wage tax. But it will also mean other activities. So we'll see more sales tax. We'll see more real estate transactions. So it's in innumerable ways that this will help our finances, both in the short term during the construction process and then in the long term. So,
thank you. Thank you. Again, I want to just publicly affirm for the record that our City Council President, Kenyatta Johnson, could not be here today because he had a long-standing commitment in his council district where he is providing right now Thanksgiving Day meals for families. Right now. But I want to note for the record, Council President Kenyatta Johnson, thank you. We've been on the page for day one, on the same page from day one about this. Is it true now that we have the enabling authority? What has to happen? We have draft legislation. Louis Rossman from the Law Department is working along with Planning and Development, Finance, and Budget, and we are working on legislation to have prepared to present to City Council President Kenyatta Johnson and the City Council of Philadelphia at the start of the new year, so that when we kick off 2026 in the city of Philadelphia, to celebrate our semi-quincentennial anniversary or birthday, we will be able to kick it off legislatively too, with a tool that we will use to ensure that Philadelphians for generations to come will know what it means to have access to affordable housing. So thank you all so very much. We now want to make sure that we take any questions. Oh, this is nice. I'm sorry, Pat. Well, let me say this. Very much like you just heard me, Josh, and the Senators Hughes and Bokosi and Chairman Harris here on today about this work that they did and why didn't we see the pictures on social media when they were actually get it done. I won't, and I don't, and we don't. Council President Kenyatta Johnson and I think we have developed an amazing rapport and standard operating procedure for how this administration across the board, works with the city council. I can't refute any of what anyone has said on background, before background, below, on top of that. I can't stop any of that. But what I can tell you is we continue to have essential conversations with Council President Johnson. And do I believe that we are going to get to yes on home? Our comprehensive plan, unprecedented in the city of Philadelphia, to invest $2 billion in the preservation, building of, and restoration of 30,000 units of housing here in the city of Philadelphia. Do I think we'll get to yes? Absolutely. Do you want me to give you an absolute date and time? Can't do that right now, but I can tell you that I believe that we are well on our way to getting to yes. And for Philadelphia, that's what's most important to me right now. Okay, glasses, I can't, all right, let me see. Yes, and next, I'm sorry, I have to, I always do this, I did not do this. Is Chief Deputy Mayor Sincere Harris just come over here just for a second? Oh, we don't care about the shoes. Come on over here. They can't see. Because she's been working and running, right? She doesn't have her work shoes on. I want to say a special thank you, and two of them are out of town right now at other industry-specific events representing the city of Philadelphia. But I want to say a super thanks to my Chief of Staff, Tiffany Thurman, Chief Deputy Mayor Vanessa Garrett Harley, and Chief Deputy Mayor Sincere Harris. If people only knew how little sleep you all get. Now, I mean that in a compliment in the best way. I want to say thank you to all of you. The budget we passed, the home program that we're working on right now in partnership with the council, this intergovernmental work. You heard Chairman Harris, and when Chairman Harris, when you mentioned the staffs, all we have to do is talk. So when Chairman Harris and I, we've been talking about this co-location because he's got the spot in South Philly. And I remember the first day I saw it. You remember I called you? I said, I'm right here. I can see it. So we talk. Chairman Hughes and I talk. Senator Bokosi, who is quality of life, housing. How do we work to get it done? We talk all the time. But when the work gets done, it's because Sincere Harris leads our intergovernmental affairs, and it's Courtney, and it's Tony Marchowski, and the young lady, what's her name? Megan Schroeder. And Megan. I mean, it's the teams getting all together. So the officials, of course, we've got to get to yes and get rowing in the same direction, but then the teams get together, and then the legal mind. I asked Louis Rossman to come down here because he works together with the lawyers on both sides to make sure that the language included all that we desire, and again, that it wasn't blanket, but that we were very specific, and they delivered in a huge way. Marco?
Yeah, so I mean, for buildings that are city-owned or school district-owned, there are definitely maintenance costs every year. I don't have that off the top of my head, but it's substantial cost.
No, and Marco, that's excellent. When we were walking through this, looking at our buildings, okay, so here's the mayor getting educated, and all the trades are going saying, yes, that's true. I didn't realize that. So if a building is vacant, Chairman and Senator Picozzi here, I'm like, well, it's vacant, nobody is there. All we have to make sure is that it's sealed, and so it should be no cost. Absolutely not true. You know, we're on the East Coast, right? They have to, you know, keep the temperature at a certain level for when it's cold, but also when it's extremely hot. The plumbing, the pipes inside, the state of affairs, in the roofing, and and we learn that there are public health and safety challenges associated with these vacancies. This is something, and he's going to get upset with me because I'm about to do this, and I'm not calling. He's our veteran in the golden years, but he was the impetus for us having this tool, and he is here with us today. I want to ask you, former council member Frank DeChico, if you would mind closing us out and sharing as you listen to us talk about how, we reimagined the tool, revived the tool, and then adapted it to current use. And you're sitting here thinking about where you were, 1999, 2000, and you think about where we are here in housing. What does this mean to you? Why don't you come up and close this out? Give a round of applause for Frank DeChico. He's the grandfather of the tax abatement in the city of Philadelphia.
Grandfather.
My pleasure.
Come on, Pop.
I'm supposed to be retired, right? Thank you, Mayor. When I first came up with the idea, there were actually two bills, and I'll be as quick as I can. And the first bill we did was called the conversion bill, which is exactly what you're doing today. And I came about thinking of that when I would drive through not only Center City, some of the neighborhoods in the district that I represented that had once been factories or office buildings, and couldn't understand why they remained vacant. So I talked to one of the developers at the time, and I said, why don't you guys take these old buildings and convert them? And he laid out the reasons why: environmental issues, and so forth. So I said, what if we gave you, and I'm not a college graduate, I'm not nothing like that. I said, well, what if we gave you a 10-year tax abatement? Don't penalize you for taking these empty buildings and putting them to use. He said, if you do that, you will see construction happen. So in less than 2 years, over 80 former vacant buildings had been converted. And again, I emphasize, not just in the core of Center City. The majority were there, but not, because the neighbors like Stetson Hat, and I'm giving my age away, and all these other factories that went out of business. The success of that gave me the idea about extending offering a 10-year tax abatement for new residential construction. And unbeknownst to me, in 1999, 2000, we actually had Rob could verify this, I believe, a 3-year tax abatement on new residential construction. Well, I never heard of it. I had built a house then in South Philadelphia, and I didn't know about it until I built my house. The point I'm making is, when Wilson Goode was mayor, and I keep saying it won't be long, when Wilson Goode was mayor, I think they offered a 5-year tax abatement for Liberty Place. And that was the highest at the time. Eventually moving on, we did the 10-year tax abatement, and it has created housing opportunities throughout the entire city. So again, I was happy to be a part of that. I got to thank former Mayor Ed Rendell, who supported the 10-year tax abatement on commercial buildings, and former Mayor John Street for the 10-year tax abatement as related to residential properties. And Mayor, congratulations. I got the chills.
Willard Rouse. We're trying to think of
Willard
Liberty
Rouse.
Place. It was
Yep,
Willard Rouse.
Willard Rouse, exactly. Thank you again. Congratulations. And one other thing. I was able to get the enabling legislation done in Harrisburg. You'll appreciate this. Former Senator Hank Salvador got the bill done. I couldn't get anybody else to believe in the bill but him. So I say that because he was a Republican. All right, and you're all good. Your district, exactly. Thank you again. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Listen, we will make sure that we keep you posted for people who are saying, what are the next steps? I want to be clear on what they are. The General Assembly has done its duty. They've delivered the enabling authority to us. The City of Philadelphia and all of our subject matter experts are working in partnership with Louis Rossman. He is our lead technician in the law department who is working on the drafting of the legislation that we will present in January to Council President Kenyatta Johnson, City Council of Philadelphia, for consideration, and we're going to continue to work together. If anybody wants to know what this is One Philly, a united city in action. So come in front of the podium so we can memorialize this moment.
One's up. Put your ones up.